Bonjour Eric.
Bonjour.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I describe myself in 3 words: simple, amazing, and amazing. Like be happy, technically, and I love people. It's very I describe social. Very, yeah, absolutely.
When did you know that you wanted to become a chef?
Well, I wanted to be a chef. I didn't really know I want to be a chef. I just know I love the nature. And a long time ago, when I grew up, I was growing up in the nuns, the convent, and it was amazing when I was touched of the nature. When it came to a point where I tried to decide what I'm going to do, I was cooking at home. I just did not put one and one together, and I was always going to Coven and help the kitchen. I was always in the kitchen. I felt so very comfortable for me. And then my mom asked me, so what you want to do? And I'm like, well, I always like to hang in the kitchen always, and you should try out. So I went, and I never looked back. And it's just fascinating times to be in touch of the nature, touching of everything, and meeting a wonderful people, and travel along the place, and being an amazing about it.
And who has been your major influences?
There's so many people being major influences. I think it's very important to see what people can touch you in a certain way. I think it's not only one person. I think life brings friends to you, brings colleagues, brings a lot of different things to you where make yourself very different. And I think, yes, of course, I was very mentored by a lot of great chefs, Mr. Schillinger, Mr. Potensky, a lot of other chefs. Of course, when I came to America, Hans Rockenwagner, Chef Wolfgang Puck, Lee Hafter, where things, and of course, it's also your wife, for example, also is a huge support of you, who helps you to be where you want to be every day. Somebody who loves you and supports what you do every day. This job we do is not easy. We work 14 to 16 hours a day. We have maybe one day off if we're lucky.
Require hard work.
Hard work, a lot of physical and mentally work.
Why did you decide to move to the United States in 1995 and then in Las Vegas?
A few reasons I decided to move to the United States. First, I was very lucky enough to working for someone in Europe when I came after my service military. I was working in Germany, and I did not know the people, and so I got an opportunity. They told me, "Oh, my brother has a restaurant in California. You should go to America one day." And I'm like, "Well, I always want to go discover America, United States." I was fascinated about certain things, how everybody think about it and how they do things. I did not have much experience or no knowledge about the food that's happening in the United States. We think always in Europe, we always do the best thing, we always do things, and they're very fascinating. So when I came in the United States, I got an opportunity to come over here, and I was blessed to work with wonderful people, start understanding the cultures of Americans, understanding the French technique we brought to the United States, and understand the cuisine we were giving to people. And then I met Sherry Yard and the farmers market, who introduced me to Wolfgang Puck. And then I came over there and I cooked one day, and both asked me, "Oh yeah, go ahead, start working here." And then I worked at Chinois, started understanding Asian cuisine, and I was always fascinated about that, how wonderful different flavor was. And like you all know, I was very blessed to have working at Spago, and start as the bottom of the line cook, and work myself as a sous chef, and go to a point where I got the opportunity to take on a restaurant myself at Maple Drive. And then I got a phone call one day from Steve Wynn, and he said, "May want you come to Las Vegas?" And I said, "Well, what you want to do over there?" And he said, "I want you to run a steakhouse." And I said, "Well, I'm not a steakhouse chef. I'm a chef who does gastronomy restaurant. I think this is the reasons they want you to come over here." So I had the opportunity to come and to come to Las Vegas and to be a part of an opening team for an amazing project. And besides that, it was a fantastic experience. And And then Wolfgang called me back and he said, you should come back.
So you moved to Las Vegas.
To Las Vegas to
after working
in LA, Spago,
in-
Maple Drive, yes, and all those restaurants for Wolfgang for over 10 years, almost.
What sort of Frenchness do you bring to Spago restaurants?
I believe Frenchness is a very good name for certain things we do. Definitely, I strongly believe being Alsatian, I'm a little bit different versus like true French people. You know, we grew up in a canton where we're very basically between two countries, French and Germany. We always create yourself, oh, we're Alsatian. But what I bring over here is very true food, which speaks to our soul. Yes, I get trained classically French. I do have a lot of respect for that, where it means the cuisine we have learned and passed on from generation to generation chefs, and it's given to me to pass that on, the techniques, the repertoire, and all the basic cuisine. But also I bring a lot of food who I grew up with it, you know, sometimes there's a special like a tarte flambée, a choucroute garni royale, or coq au vin or something, but maybe not the name directly, but just maybe the technique of the cuisine and bring it to us here. And people realize that, oh, this is actually very good. It's not American, but it has a lot of soul and core, where a French cuisine is very technical. And I think, you know, dishes are unlimited we can prepare, from the fresh pasta, from even from a simple thing to a mashed potato, where I've been taught the most important thing is simple, less is more. So it's just the potato, the cream, and the butter. That's it, you know. Or even just the cream, just crème fraîche, or is even more French at all. Very important.
How do you update your menu? How often do you update your menu?
Our menu gets updated every time we have an opportunity. Something comes in. Sometimes it happens today, for example, we change the lunch menu, we change the dinner menu. And the cafe, we're changing the dining room menu tonight in certain items because certain things we're not able to get. I think, strictly in our restaurant, what is the most important thing is not to be behind, is be ahead. If we don't get something, okay, let's come up with a new idea. Let's make something different. And the people can open the menu, they come over here. Yes, they have a lot of things they like and they have the usual stuff they love, but they will open the menu and they'll see it, oh, menu, try something else. It gives always constantly something to see in our restaurant. And I think, you know, we update it constantly in the menu. I mean, I just change all the fonts on the menu. We change the way to read the menu. Simpler, understanding things are very a way people should see things, you know, and also to understand how to make that read for a customer who basically is international. Which sometimes I think, you know, Las Vegas, where we are, is a lot of people coming from all over the place, and on top locals.
Yes.
And we need to cater to them in a certain way, to all of them. So we need to write things in a very simple way. We need to make sure we explain certain things, having catching words in there where I understand. For an example, like we put in the menu a French sea bass, you know, we put just loup de mer on the menu. Like you and I perhaps we know what a loup de mer is. It's called the bar in France, and people for a long time we could not sell that fish because people didn't understand. So I went and I put French sea bass. I couldn't even keep an eye on I went, oh yeah, sea bass, okay, we understand that. Oh, it's a French sea bass, what is it? Well, it's the best sea bass you can have in France. So, you know, this is how to understand and how to update a menu and to do all these things.
How important is it to continue to innovate in terms of menu selection?
It's the most important thing. If we think, somebody told me once, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I must agree, but we always need to look at to make things differently. I believe, and we all believe in our company, from Wolfgang to all our partners, and myself included, to innovate is the most important thing to keep us always here. I am fortunate to say this restaurant has been here for 21 years, in a couple of days, you know, and we are doing things sometimes. It's the hardest thing sometimes to change, be a habit of doing things. It's hard because we fall into a repetition mode. We're human. And innovating and changing things are sometimes not the first things we can see in a quality of a person, But I think, it's very important to always be innovative, looking differently. I say sometimes, I don't have all the answers. Let's put in the menu and figure out. And this will help us and force us to always think differently,
And do you source as much seasonal and local produce as possible for Spago restaurant? And does this have a big impact in the menu? On the menu?
Yes, of course. I think I wish we can do more. The probably biggest problem over here, using small farmers, sometimes the quantity is not there. They only can produce so much. I am the first one to use local producer. May have like the Olson Farm, may have Hydro Greens, may have some farmers up north, Gilson Farm, where we're using. And it's only so much. Sometimes they have product because they don't have the financially stable to produce certain things. Reduce carbon footprint is one of the most important things. Understand where everything comes from is even better. We buy stuff from the farmers market, from Santa Monica, California. We get it over here. We're also supporting the local farmers. I know there are 2 farmers markets here. I know all the time. It definitely influence what's on the menu. If it's not in the season, it should not be on the menu whatsoever. People sometimes do not understand that when you say, "Oh, why don't I have tomato salad in December?" But tomatoes don't grow in December; they only grow in an area consult and whatever it is. But sometimes we need to get certain things because we're in a city where is driven by business, and sometimes we need to adapt ourselves or anything. But it's very important to be thinking about the nature, because without the nature, when we pull, we're not going to get one day nothing. Very important.
What do you feel that clients should focus on to get the most out of their culinary experience?
Well, there are a few things. A client should always have the experience. It's sometimes very hard to explain a client what to expect and how, for example, quantity versus quality, size versus what are we preparing. I always say to a customer, for example, sometimes it's very intriguing, is when a customer go to a basketball game, for example, and they can sit in a plastic chair and they pay $50 for park, $50 to park, $70 for a ticket, and then they have to get up and buy like food and beer or anything served in a plastic cup, and they're okay to do that. Our restaurant business is not very different, but we spend so much time to have beautiful linen, plate from France, silverware from France, a custom chair, a decor, an atmosphere, and we don't charge more as a basketball game, but what we do is giving something to the guest. A guest, that different clienteles, and I think, overall, we're not pretentious, we're not arrogant, but we give something to a customer. I always strongly believe feeding and giving something to a customer is something them to remember. Sometimes customer can be misled by say, oh, me go to this restaurant, I'm going to order a 6-course tasting menu. They're not going to be full-size 8-ounce piece of portion. They're going to be maybe 3 or 4 ounces of portion, where you're going to have a multitude of flavors, versus you have one dish with a big plate where it's going to be I'm going to have a 12-ounce piece of meat with a lot of French fries, for example, or something like that, versus we're going to do a tasting menu or certain things where we believe, hey, how about we order a first course, a main course, and a wonderful dessert, because we prepare everything from scratch. We don't buy anything we cannot produce. If I can make a sausage, we will make it over here. Do we going to serve a ton of product? No, I'd rather more have quality versus quantity. And it's a peace of mind. I think definitely the American palate has evolved. And, when I always see sometimes we're very European in this restaurant. And when you see European customer coming through, they say, oh my God, this is so wonderful. The first course is so beautiful. The main course at the perfect size. And I still can have a dessert. I can even enjoy myself. Whereas sometimes when we have people, and it's not to say, it's not their fault, it's just the style of cuisine, and you get exposed to it and you expect to have bigger portion versus to have quality. You know, I love quality and test and everything. It says to have something bold. I get bored easy with like too multitude of a dish. I'd rather have something small and 4 or 5 more dishes. And end of the day, it costs you the same thing. It's just have your palate explore different flavors. And it's very important. But again, you know, it's an experience. And I think, you know, we have some wonderful selection of restaurants who can be big portion, small portion. But at the end of the day, the customer has to be happy.
So you answer my question. Some American people consider that French restaurants serve little portion of food, and what do you answer to this?
I don't think French restaurant. You know, there are bistro, there are cafe, there are brasserie, varieties of food. You know, a long time ago, there were a few selected people who created an empire of chefs who created food, who make gastronomy, cuisine. I think, you know, I am very respectful to this group of people who created this cuisine, because eventually something very complicated, was very labor intense, was something was rating, scrolls down to a brasserie, to a bistro, to have different color cuisine. Where, you know, in the early days, it used to be, escargot was only served in a gastronomy restaurant. Now it's considered more as a brasserie, or a brasserie food, or, you know, or a regular restaurant cuisine, where things have evolved. And I think, you know, the French cuisine, or French chef, or French portions, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. You know, I remember when I was a young man, when I was being apprentice, you know, in 1990, 85, 86, like that, we were a brigade of 35 cooks in nighttime, just for the nighttime dinner, 35 cooks, and we only did maybe 25 covers. But everything was the plate was hand touched. Everything was just made for that plate. And technically it's not physical, economically driven, but is a respect what we give and dedicate to ourselves to that food of the French cuisine. I'm respectful from all the chefs who have created that, because we are today what we are because of them. And people just need to look back and step back and look at it and say, it's not what you know, it's what you experience. It's not what you see every day, it's the truth. Experience something you never experienced before. You know, I am very fortunate I can see things, and I go travel everything and open my mind to different quality, you know, and it's the most important thing.
And how does changing culture affect the food we eat?
The culture, everything. You know, I mean, we're fortunate now in the United States, where the cuisine goes from French, American, Italian. I mean, you can have everything you want, Asian, Mexican. But again, what I think is the most important thing, if you take any culture and you mix it with a classical dish or something like that, it gives you limitless touch and food. You know, I see some chefs who are going basically Southern American, Latinos, and you're putting French touch cuisine on that with a like nice technique of the French cuisine, or taking, you know, the Italian cuisine more a little bit, but still like very French based cuisine with techniques or whatsoever, and they mix it maybe with Asian. It's wonderful things like that. So the cultures are very important, you know, and still understanding how to make something very respectful.
And what is the difference between eating in a French restaurant in Las Vegas or New York or in Paris, for example?
Well, we're in the United States, being a French restaurant. We're here, this restaurant over here is more as an American cuisine, French, Californian cuisine, where it's being touched about the French technique. It's very different. Where if people go to France or Paris, for example, they will not question anything they serve over there. They will respect what the chef have done. Where here, the percentage where we have 70% of people who understand an average cuisine, and you have perhaps 30% or even less nowadays sometimes who understand what a chef tried to create. or to make something. So to answer your question is a totally different thing. Is people who go to France expect to be treated as like a French person and eat like as a French restaurant. When it comes in America, is a French style, where people they experience more French cuisine in an American way. And I think is
So it's a different experience.
it is a different experience, but quite amusing. Because sometimes you can say, "Well, that's actually very good. That was a little bit different what I expected." Like, for example, like a very classic dish where it's very Brasserie, like have a steak tartare. How many times, how many ways can you make a steak tartare? But at the end of the day, it stops with one thing: it's the quality of the meat you put on a plate, not how you prepare it. And so, I think the integrity of in France, what we have, and you find good restaurants and bad restaurants everywhere, but overall, you find something where it's very important for the guests to get customer satisfaction and coming back and evolving and being inspired by other people. Very important.
What is your favorite dish that you cook just for your own pleasure?
I have so many. You see, I think personally for me, I'm a very diverse person. I enjoy when I can get different flavors. But it's something, I can be very homesick sometimes. And sometimes dishes your mom used to prepare or something very simple which touches your heart. Something like, as simple like a mashed potato or something was so prepared so perfectly and properly. I enjoy that the most as anything else.
So which dish did you choose?
What I do like, where I grew up, but this is, I'm constantly, you see, if I can go home and my mom would prepare a dish, it is touchy, it's emotional, it is beautiful. Just thinking about it is very sensitive on that, because it is what you are all about. It's just like simple, like, I remember my mom used to cook like maybe, for example, like sometimes like spaghetti and tomato sauce. It's maybe not very Alsatian or very French, but it was just prepared. And I actually have a dish like that on the menu over here, and I do enjoy it because it's all it's simple things of life what makes you happy. And I think even like like a national dish like where I grew up, like the tarte flambée or the choucroute or even something we grew up in France to make you remember what you're all about, where you come from. So it's not one dish, it's about everything, it's all the experience. I think for me, it's like conjugating and understanding to say the right word. If you ask me to say that in French, I will have a problem because I don't use it enough. And I grew up with it. And it is just fascinating how human beings evolve. We even come from something from France where we always try to adapt and make something. At the end of the day, you ask the right question. What do you really like the most? It's the simple things. The simple things I enjoy the most.
Very nice. What is the next for Eric Klein?
I am asking that every day. For us and for what I want to do is so many different things. I very enjoy take care of guests. I very enjoy giving. I have a dream where one day eventually maybe, I don't know, to be more involved in our restaurant. I am very fortunate to work for a company and partners who are very care about me, and they make that restaurant, say Eric, he's the chef, you go to the dining room, it's almost to have like my own. But say next, I always look for wonderful opportunity. I look wonderful work for wonderful people, and no destiny is made. Everything can change in a moment. It's like the weather. It's appreciated the time you have, and I think what's next for me. I am figure out that out right now. Actually, to figure out how should I evolve and what should I do to make sure we're content. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I would love one day to have my own restaurant. I would love to have something like that. But what is it, that? What is it that the right thing? Is it the right answer? We don't know. I don't even know myself. Enjoying having a wonderful restaurant I am, like Spago, and be the chef apart, you know. 2 more, maybe something be different, you know, we don't know. But you know, for now I'm here and I make the most important thing is to be consistent, be respectful, innovating, true to myself, to my roots, and be respectful. You know, I think this is the most important thing, and I'm demanding as a chef. I am very, how you call it, demanding, not for me, for the guest. Because if we don't do the right thing, the guests one day, they're not going to come. And it's hard for us in Las Vegas sometimes because it's just a roller coaster, you know. So,
Thank you very much for the opportunity to interview you, Eric.
c'est un plaisir.
Bonne journée.